Divine greetings, entities, energies, lovelies, bodies of light, like this sunlight out here. All you 144, the chosen of the chosen of the chosen few, my seekers and sojourners of truth, and you and me and you here together in this vortex. I greet you all in the love that lights the truth from my heart to yours. I am Akila Textry, and welcome to the divine energy and the essence of it all, reporting to you live from 5D, from the 5D, fifth dimension, the new age, the true age, all of that good stuff. The Aquarian age, all of you that are leaving the matrix, welcome as I give you the galactic news that you choose to infuse however you use it. So with that said, let's get right into it. This is really, to be honest, his disclaimer, I'm gonna be clear. Today's actually Thursday the 20th, but I'm still on Wednesday the 19th because of the time loop that I've been in, the time shift, the quantum leaping that has been done by me and my family actually together. It's not just me by myself. So we're all, right now my real time is really nighttime on the 19th. So as you can see, I shifted, and that's why you're seeing me in the day. So with that said, let's get right into this. This is the final series of the 10 days plus 5 new beginnings, this vortex cushion that we were in for 10 days, which, by the way, the new moon was in the midst of it. So there was the manifestations of the new moon, which is, for me, it lasts for 7 days. So within my 10-day window, I also had 7 days of working with the new moon, and big things were happening. As you see in the video, we had the Grand Cross, we had the node shifting, so a lot of energy was helping with what's happening now, and you're hearing all the crook-a-doodle-doos in the background. So it feels good, like I said, to be in the light. I'm hearing the song "Coming Out of the Dark," because that's what it feels like I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know. Got to let it show. We in 5D now, grow. Anyway, code 6. Code 6, code 6. And this is the second code 6. Notice that when we started the 10 days, there was a code 6. The day before I started, which was the first one I didn't plan to do a series. It was code 5. And so it cycled around, and we ended back with another code 5 yesterday. My yesterday, not yours, unless you're with me in 5D, like this deep. But that was yesterday on the 18th, and today, the 19th, is the end. The 10 days of new beginnings is from the 10th through the 19th. So this is the last day, and the code we have is code 6. So again, we started with 6, we close with 6. Look at the symbol of the Cancer sign. It's a 6 over a 6. Like, if this is not signals of how this is a feminine energy, like so much is pouring in. The feminine energy, the waters, which is what 6 is about. And you'll see as I read to you the download, the information, it was coming in so heavy. Information has just been pouring in. It's been like overflow. For the past, especially the last couple days, the last maybe 3 or 4 days, it just got heavy. It's like somebody turned up the pipe, and it's coming faster than I could compute it, as I said on a previous video. So this one was really hard. It was so galactic. The way it was, when I wrote it, I was like, I don't know if people gonna understand this, but here goes. I'm gonna give it to you. And I wrote the description. Whatever I've read throughout these series, I wrote it in the description, at least most of it, as much as I could. Well, not as much, as least as I could out of the much that it is, because I had to, take out some. But in all of these series, you can go through the description, and that's where I put the download that you see me reading to you. So if you heard something and you're like, wait a minute, what's that? And if you're the type that need to read it to see it, check out the description. So with that, this ending of the new beginnings, the closing, is a code 6, 6 to 6, waters to waters. I couldn't wait to see what I get, the answers about what does 6 mean, because I've been wondering. because of the 6 petals on the chakra of the sacral chakra. And I know that 6 has to do with waters, and waters has been coming up a lot for me, as in understanding that the waters are portals. Our tears are portals through the soul because it's water. Anything we excrete is water from our body, and there is these portals actually, and it's showing how water is like a portal or a stargate. This is why they had water even in the pyramids with copper, to conduct the light codes, light, electricity, and so forth, right? I tell y'all, the pyramids was like a decoding machine, but that's a story for another day. So let's get into these waters. It's talking about these primordial waters, if you guys have ever heard of that. And the overall essence that I was getting from code 6, the theme of it is existing in the knowing, existing like your 6th chakra coming up. Going down, your 6th chakra is the sacral. Going up, it's your 3rd eye. So when you're coming from the ethers, you're coming out of these primordial waters, right? And it's all about receptivity. The feminine aspect or quality of the feminine is receptivity. So this is about the receptivity activity, the activation of receptiveness. So previously you've heard me say more about creative activity. This is about the receptive activity, and it's so feminine, from 3rd eye to sacral. That's all waters, primordial waters. Water is the element of the sacral. From the waters to the waters, all of this is receptive. How do you receive? And I'll speak a little bit about that as I go along, because receptivity has a lot to do with how our perspective on things, how we internalize things. What is your receptivity? And I think I may have to do a separate video on that because I was getting so much information even about that, and I want to stick to the code 6 information. So let's go into that and we'll see what time we have left. So with that, as I go right into it, it is to understand that remembering that this is the second 6. We started out with 6, we closing with 6. So it's a double, like yesterday's song. So in this double up and repeat of code 6, it signifies the existence of the knowing within the infinity of the feminine. This feminine aspect of source. Before I even say what that feminine aspect of source is, let me also add to that 6 is the double feminine of creativity in the order of receptivity. Let me say that again. 6 is the double feminine, 6 of creativity in the order of receptivity. There's a receptivity order, so to speak. So with that said, the feminine aspect of source operates through receptivity, through the receptive activation, right? So it operates through the receptive activation to bring life from the primordial waters through the portals of this realm into the experience of the creative activation of the infinity of the masculine as manifestation, to return to the completion under the submission of waters into the infinity of the feminine again. So basically all that's saying, I told you this is how, when I get a galactic explanation, this is how it comes. So it's basically simply saying it's coming from the feminine to operate through the masculine as it shows up in this world, to return back to the feminine. From the unknown, how I usually say is from the unknown into the known and back to the unknown. And this is all existing. This is all about existing in the knowing of it all. In the knowing of it all, which is infinite existence, there is the known and the unknown. There is the masculine and the feminine. Usually the feminine aspect represents the unknown, coming from the dark, coming out of the dark, coming out of the unknown. So I can even see why I was so much in the dark. If you notice, if you've been watching this all along, I started in the light and it was in the daytime, in the evening, and then it got later and later and later till I was doing videos at like 3 in the morning, later and later, till now I'm recycling back into the daytime. So that's why I'm having this feeling of coming out of the dark, out of the unknown from that aspect or from that perspective. So just to kind of explain that, what that feminine means. So all it is from the portal to the portal, from from the waters to the waters, 6 to 6, right? So also with that is to note that it is through this receptive activity that the feminine, the spiritual, receives what is known. So the feminine, which is known as the spiritual, receives what is known in existence and gives instructions to the experience of the creative activity in the masculine, which is the physical, with all points of infinite existence in our time-space reality, or within all points. So let me say that again. let me recap that again. So it is through this receptive activity that you see me talking about, which is from the feminine to the feminine, from the feminine to the masculine, back into the feminine. So basically saying, and you see that the masculine, which is noted as the creative activity, because that is how we show up in the world. The masculine represents the physical, so how we show up in the world. So it is through this receptivity activity that the feminine, which is the spiritual, receives what is known. She's the receptor. She receives everything, and she gives instructions to the experience of the creative activity in the masculine, which is within all points of the infinite existence in our time-space reality. So that's just saying that it's giving it gives us instructions. The job of the feminine, as I said, as receptivity, it just receives. If you think about what the third eye is about, it's really about observation. Basically does what we talk about, what God does when they say God just is and things like that. God doesn't impose, right? So the third eye, which is the all-knowing eye, this is the God, this is your great order of divinity, right? So its job is to observe, its job is to witness, and that's kind of like what it is. Like, I'm just observing, I'm just seeing what you're gonna do, and whatever you do, it registers to me, and in return you get whatever it is that comes out of what you, it's kind of like saying what you put in is what you get. So what you put into the universe, in the feminine aspect of the universe that receives, that's all it does. It receives, it's receptive, and then through that receptivity of whatever is known, it releases the instructions back into the known, back into you being able to bring it into the manifested realm, world, and experience. So it's just pointing out how that happens within all points, meaning every single point within the infinite existence in our time-space reality as we know time to be. All right, so with that said, as we close this new beginnings of 5, which has a double code of 5 and 6 at the end, which was the last 2 days, we now witness the understanding of this infinite existence as love in the balance between the physical and the spiritual, as we harmonize, as we, from the physical and the spiritual, as harmonized activity. I'm thinking as we harmonize. No, it's as harmonized activity. So we now witness the understanding of this infinite existence as love in the balance between the physical and spiritual, as harmonized activity between the masculine and feminine, which are all one. So it's just amplifying what we're doing in this entire 10 days, of new beginnings. For those who don't know, you'd probably have to watch one of the other videos that I can explain and go deep into it. But briefly, since we're talking about it we're talking about it now, ultimately, in this 5D experience, we are synchronizing our integration, and this entire experience was like a culmination of that. We are really at a pivotal point right now with the harmonizing, with the integrating between the dualities. We're being asked to move from fixed, polarized dualities and bring it into a unification, into a harmony, into a oneness where everything is one, which is what the third eye, again, is all about. That's why you see 2 petals with an eye kind of in the middle. It looks like the shape of an eye and 2 petals. It's coming from the dualities, whatever they are, and bringing it into the single-eyed oneness of things. So this is the activity that we've been working on and working through in our soul's consciousness, in our own soul integration. It's not just for man and woman. This is not a gender thing. When you hear me saying masculine and feminine, this is about energy, the masculine and feminine energy and aspects of us. So this is what we've been doing in these 10 days. And so how we've gotten the days, briefly, I usually say that in the beginning, but as it's coming up, I'm just going with it, is that the days it's from the 10th through the 19th. That's what we call the 10 days of new beginnings, and it happens throughout the entire year. So with that, all it is when you add up the date, it started in February through Tanya Gabrielle, who brought it to my attention through a video that I saw. She does numerology, and the days added up to that day. If you add the date, the numbers of that date, it added up to that day. So for example, on the 10th, the numbers added up to the 10th, and so on all the way to the 19th. And I was able to find that with happening every month. It wasn't just for February. Every month it was happening from the 10th through the 19th, but every time we do it, a number gets added to it. So in March, it was like it would add up to that date plus 1. So it would add up to 10 plus 1, so it would actually be 11. And then the next month, it would add up to that date, that day of 10 plus 2. And then so on. So this is why we have the theme plus 5, because we're at a point now where when you add up the numbers from the 10th through the 19th, it will be that day, which is, if you go by 10, it would be 10 plus 5. So our first day was 15. Day plus 5 is 15. If you add up all the numbers, it would be 15. And then how we got the number codes that you see these titled as number codes, because that's how it jumped out at me, was that when you add the 5 and the 1, you have 6. So therefore, the first day was number code 6. All right, so that's how I got the numbers. That's how, it worked with me with numerology. I'm pretty new to numerology, but this is how it guides me and shows me where the portals are. Here's a vortex, here's a portal, and then I share it with you as I could. I haven't shared it this much. This is the first time I'm doing a series and sharing it with you all. So that catches us up on what this whole integration is about, in case you're like, what is she talking about? Yeah, we're talking about that integration. So as I was saying, I was speaking about how we're harmonizing in the masculine and feminine, which is that we are all one, is to know that we are all one in infinite existence. And I want to point out that the first part of this, I have to admit, when I got it, I was looking up in my morning, which was your night, at about 7 o'clock as the sun was setting. I saw a slither of the moon, and it was directly like this, a direct line across from Venus. And so I noticed, and the moon represents understanding. The sun represents will, and the moon is understanding. So immediately I saw understanding aligned with love. And that is how it came to me to say that we're now witnessing the understanding of this infinite existence as love in the balance of it all. Because another part of this was that Mars and Venus were, traveling together with 5 degrees apart, until the 18th. After the 18th, Mars went on his way. But for the past month, they've been 5 degrees apart. And that's why 5 kept jumping out at me. And that's how I started with the code 5 on the first video I did leading into these 10 days. So all of this is kind of cycled or circled around that. So with that said, after understanding that we are all one, which we all should know, we are one. After the expressions, sometimes songs just come to me like that. They just jump out. After the expression, which is, as we know, the expression of 5 from the previous video, after the expression 5 of this synchronized integration, let me be clear, I'm not saying 5 of the synchronized integration, I'm saying 5 as the expression. So after the expression of this synchronized integration, we simply exist in the knowing of infinity as consistent energy of receptivity that gives simultaneously. So that goes to what I was saying earlier about why the feminine receives while she's receiving. The giving is simultaneously happening. We have to understand that at this infinite existence type level, at the level of 6, where it's like a 6-dimensional level, it is just existing in what is, what it knows that it is. So it doesn't have to give. That's why it's so receptive. The giving is really done by you. Like I said, what you put in. It's just receiving, and that there's the frequencies are going back and forth. We're connecting in that way and simultaneously. As it is receiving, so it is given unto you. So that is how the giving is done. It's not a direct giving. It is an indirect giving that is actually done through the process of receiving, just being receptive. That is why it's known as the receptive activity. So from the invisible, all of this is showing us that it is from the invisible realm of the spiritual, which is feminine, to the visible realm of the physical, which is masculine, and on so many levels. It's the invisible of our mind to the visible of our bodies, the invisible of the divine to the visible of the world. So on so many levels, we're seeing this harmony, this harmonizing aspect of invisible to visible, invisible to visible, and back to visible. All right. So also at this sixth level or dimension, I like to call it a dimension of existing in the knowing, it is no longer about harmonizing the integration, but it's no longer about harmonizing the integration through creative activity, which is what we do more of in the body and the physical realm. It's about actually activating it through those means. But at the level of sixth dimension, it's not about harmonizing through creative activity anymore, but it is about being in harmony with the existence of knowing the integration is already there. So remember, it's the existence of knowing. You're not striving to create the harmony. It's already created, and it's known that the creation is simultaneously happening all the time at every pivotal moment. And it's happening. It's knowing that the integration is already there through this receptive activity. So just knowing that it's receiving, and as it's receiving, the giving is already happening. Boom, 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 it's giving. The best way I could explain it is that it's kind of like it's speeded up when it gets to the sixth level or sixth dimension. It's slower, and that's why we see the creative activity little by little. It's like seeing a dot, one dot at a time, just like this. It's like a dotted line. And every point is you're seeing the creative activity, create at every point. So it's to understand that the creative activity is already existing at this point at the sixth level. It's already existing. It's in the flow, right? It speeds up and it's going so fast. It's like a motion picture, because the motion picture, you can see a picture. It starts from picture to picture to picture, but when it speeds up, it's a motion. So now it's streaming. And it appears as if you're not having the creative activity anymore, but it actually is already existing in there at a faster pace. So you're not seeing it. So that's what I mean when I say it's not happening at a creative activity level. It's not that it's not happening, but we're not witnessing it. We're not seeing it at this level of the sixth level. We're only seeing the stream of continuum. Right? So all of this, with all of this known, it is expanding. It is the expansion, and it is us expanding from the soul body consciousness that is more into the body, to the soul spirit consciousness, which is the universe of our mind, right? The universe is our mind. A lot of times we don't understand that. The universe is not just out there, it's our mind as well. So we're tapping into the universe of our mind, and this is how we're doing it. So when we expand our mind out of I call it the pyramid body. That's the soul body consciousness. I call it the pyramid body, and the soul spirit consciousness, I call it the pyramid, the mind pyramid. So there's the body pyramid and the mind pyramid, but that's a whole nother story. So with that, just know that we're expanding this in all ways, from the body and into the spirit and back forth. So, and it's all our universal mind. So knowing this, welcome to the 6D, to the sixth dimension. Wink, wink. Within the fifth dimensions. Yes, some people, you hear a lot of people talking about 5D, and some of us are actually at a sixth dimensional level, but we're still operating within the 5D consciousness. So excuse my loud background. Some people are at a 7D, at a 8D, at a 9D. People are at many different dimensions, but we as a collective are at the 5D, consciousness. So I'm going to share with you some side notes. There was so much I was getting, so that's why you see me reading the way I'm reading, because it was, even in me writing it, it was all over the place. Like, where do I put this? It was just streaming, and it's like, I don't know where to put this. So I had to just put it where I could put it and then piece it together. But it's written lovely in the description below. In the description below. All right, so with that, I'll share a little bit more and then some other added features. And note to you all, note to self, I will be, doing a closing video to this, or I should say what do you call those videos? A recap. There we go. So something to add to this that I was getting, that through humility in an act of submission with the self as ego, masculine, and the physical, we go under the submission of the waters to travel through the portals of time. This is again the waters. To travel through the portals of time, to receive the instructions through the wisdom of intuition, the feminine and the spiritual, that holds us in the channels of the infinite existence of the knowing. Holds us in the divine flow of source. Ultimately, that is what it's saying. So it's just showing that it is how we can do it. This little explanation is saying how we can do it. Everything I've said to you is like, yeah, that sounds all galactic. How do we fit this into our life, world, and affairs? How do we operate as we're working on, I don't like to say trying, so I had to catch myself, as we're working on integrating into the other dimensions, as we're moving out, we're expanding out of 3D, but we still live amongst a lot of 3D people who are living in the shadows. There's 4D, we're all at different levels. So how are we integrating and staying within the love frequency and doing what must needs be done for us? So this is how that explains that. What we can do in our soul's consciousness is check our masculine in. So that's why the humility part is important. And humility is an act of the submission. We need this submission because we need to submit under the waters. When we go under that submission of the waters, it is how we're traveling through time, how we travel through the portals, because we tap into that receptivity. We submit into the feminine, basically. And so once we do that, when we submit, we then receive instructions from the feminine, from the spirit, as I described earlier. When it's receiving, it receives what we are expressing out, and then it just puts it right back in. So this is how we can practice it. To make it a practical application, work with yourself, work with humility. That is the biggest thing. That is the key right about now. Your all key, I forgot what they call it, your master key. There you go. Your master key is humility. I should probably do a video on that, just talking about humility. That master key is humility. That's going to get you in and help you to be into that submissive state. I'm not saying you got to submit to people you don't like or who may be doing you wrong. This is all about a submission to you, onto you. This is about you submitting your ego, putting your ego down for a moment. Some of us have to kill that ego. Some of us have to, murder that ego for a moment and allow our sets, our feminine aspect, to put the membered pieces back together so that we can give birth to our Christ consciousness and have our risen ego rise. So that's why we need to check in with that humility and get that part where our set, which is the feminine, remembers Asar. That is us receiving. That's us allowing the feminine. So that is the receiving part. Our set putting Asar back together is like giving the instructions through the wisdom. And that is how we open that portal, how we flow in those portals and allow the superconscious, which is the Heru, the sun, to rise, right? So that's the how-to, and I'll probably do a video deeper on that. So the portals are the flow. The portals are the flow of creativity in action that exists in the constant stream of knowing at a multidimensional level. It is when the second dimension of duality harmonizes to expand the third dimension of creation, to experience the fourth dimension of time, to be an expression, which is recorded, in the fifth dimension, to exist in the knowing of the sixth dimension. It is the knowing, it is just the existence. The sixth dimension is a major portal of existence in the known that is the midpoint between dimensions, which is after the portal of the third dimension of creation and before the portal of the ninth dimension of isness as a spiritual completion. Now, that's just a little extra something on dimensions. I know it's like, what? So again, I may have to separate that and do a extended video on that. It's just speaking about the 369. If you hear those numbers, the major portals of as we go through the different dimensions, the major dimensions to portal through is the third dimension, the sixth dimension, and the ninth dimension. So this is another reason why I'm paying attention to that, because as we're on code 6, we want to know that this is one of the major dimensions as well to portal through. Right? So with that said, other added featured notes. I just got 2 more features that I'm going to share with you about this 6. One of the features is knowing that from waters to waters, as I said earlier, and 6 to 6, it's coming from it's coming from the primordial waters of time, space, reality in the third eye, right? To the waters of the womb of time, space, reality. From the 6th, basically saying from the 6th chakra going down is the third eye, and the 6th chakra going up is the sacral. No, going up. Did I say that right? The 6th chakra going up is the third eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 6th one going down is the sacral. And I know I said that earlier. I wanted to make sure I have that feature in there. You can do, just play with it yourself and see. But these are the double feminine that we're seeing as I'm looking at it through the chakra aspects of it. I also to know is that this 6 to 6 exemplifies the existence of the double feminine in the symbol Cancer, as the waters are feminine in the earth element and the moon is the feminine celestial body. And also during this new beginnings, we had a new moon in Cancer where the sun and moon were aligned with this. So we're seeing the double 6 again, double code, double 6, 6 to 6, waters to waters, portals to portals. So with all of this, there's so much to share about this receptivity. I would definitely, I'm going to get more downloads about it. I have some more, so I know I have more to write. It's coming so fast, it almost feels like a book. Like as it was coming, I was like, hold on, this is not, yesterday's own felt like a book. Today's own felt like, this is about 2 books. Like I have to pull this out and talk about it somewhere else. But it was a beautiful experience, these 10 days. And as I close out, I'm going to let you know that I'm going to do a recap, because I'd like to talk about the experience, share with you the experience that I had and how to even explain why I'm in a different time shift right now. Why is it that today is Thursday the 20th and I'm still on Wednesday the 19th? This is like my nighttime. This is like my dinner time. So I'm going to share to you how,